All right. It is October the 16th, 2022, and the prior Thursday, I was playing squash in the first league match I've had in a very, very, very long time, and I won my match, so that's good. And there was a few minutes left, and my opponent said, "Well, we have a few minutes left. Do you want to play one more for fun?" I said, "Why not? Why not?" And in the middle of that game, something happened, and I, in the middle of the point, went down entirely with a numbing sensation on my left lower calf. And a few minutes later, a friend of mine, or a short time later, a friend of mine came in from the other court where he was playing, helped me up. I picked up my racket, and I picked up my hat because of long hair. I either put a headband on. I didn't put a headband on that time, but I was wearing a hat to keep the hair out of my eyes because squash is a pretty dynamic game, and you don't want this to happen because then you can't see, your vision gets impaired, and it's a pretty fast game. So I was wearing a hat, picked up my racket, hobbled off the court, and sat there. And then, lo and behold, my son was playing on the adjacent court. He finishes his, and we take ourselves off, and I wound up in hospital at about 8:30 that night. About 4 in the morning, Oakfoot Trafalgar Memorial Hospital said that the ER doctor there said that clinically she believes I have ruptured my Achilles either partially or fully, and they put me in a cast. I'll show you the picture really quick. That is said cast. It's called plantar flexion because of your foot and your toes are pointed forward, so that hopefully the Achilles, the bottom of your calf, and the top of your heel start to connect. So there I shall stay until at least, here we go, back again, at least till tomorrow, which is October the 17th, when I go for an ultrasound and they figure out if it is truly completely torn or just partially torn. Now, a couple things about me. I am super active. I lift weights. I do jiu-jitsu several times a week, like 3 to 5 times a week jiu-jitsu, 3, 4 times a week weight training, all methodically spaced out so you're not overdoing it on any one workout. That being said, it's not to be, boastful or what have you. My Achilles being strained all the time, and it's repairing. It's being strained, repairing. It wasn't like I'm going cold into a sport and, it's like to be expected. Now, that being said, different muscles are strained with different types of sports. You always hear, "Oh, well, are you fit for this sport?" Right? Squash can be probably termed as an endurance sport. Jiu-jitsu probably a little bit of strength and endurance. But sometimes you can play squash for a 40-minute match, right? A jiu-jitsu round could be 7 minutes or 10 minutes at the most, right? And then you take a break. So slightly different conditioning is required. But that to say, I was not one that decided, "Oh, I haven't played squash in many years, haven't exercised in many years. Let's go out and give it a go with no training." And even from the training side, I'd taken my son out probably 3, 4 times maybe in the weeks leading up, just to kind of, you know, get in the habit of hitting the ball, getting in the habit of reaching, stretching, this and that, and then this happens. So Thursday, get home at 5 in the morning, eat something, pass out. Friday is a bit of a rotten day. Saturday, I was up and about a little bit with my friend, but in the meantime, kind of researching and saying, "Hey, you don't want to wait till Monday, right? Nobody wants to wait till Monday. I have to wait till Monday, which could be worse. Obviously, everything could be worse. I was hoping they'd give me a scan on the night of that I went to the hospital, but they gave me an X-ray. I think that probably is going to show if something is broken or not. And I don't think anything's broken. Well, at least not a bone break. So the ultrasound is tomorrow, and I was hoping they can get that done for me on the Thursday, but no. So that being said, tomorrow is the day, and from what I've read over the weekend in my discussions with some doctors that I know in my extended family, that there's surgical procedures, you can reattach the tendon, and then there's what they call conservative, this kind of, let the tendons reattach on their own, which is possible. But we shall see tomorrow. Now, part of me hopes that it is, hey, surgery. My understanding is that you have a better chance, or a lower chance of re-rupture, meaning the tendon snaps again with surgery. And it's multiple times. It's like, it's like a 3-4% chance that it ruptures or re-ruptures after surgery, and like a 14, and some studies show up to 19% chance of re-rupture if you go the conservative route, which is just letting it heal on its own. And part of the deciding factors there are, from what I've read, I'm a chartered accountant. I'm not a doctor, not a health professional, but what I've read from what I believe are reputable healthcare sources, medical sources like WebMD, Mayo Clinic, National Institute of Health, etc., not like, hey, we think we know something about Achilles tendon injuries.com, that type of site. So fairly reputed sites, I would say. Listen, if you're leading an active lifestyle, maybe you want to err on the side of caution and go with surgery. So I'm hoping that is the conclusion tomorrow. It's kind of weird to hope for surgery, but I'm 46 years old and I'm active. Thankfully, my health is on my side, thankfully. And, we'll see what happens tomorrow. Now, if I'm hoping for surgery, I'm also hoping that the surgery can be done relatively quickly, and I'm not waiting, weeks and weeks and weeks or months and months and months for surgery. Hoping can be done, pretty quick. That would be ideal. But we shall see. We shall see. So, anyways, I think I'll start documenting this a little bit, and go from there. So, just everyday things like having a bath, making yourself meals, things you wouldn't have necessarily thought about. For example, how do you warm up your food, put it in a plate, and then take it to the table with 2 crutches? Well, you're probably not going to, so you're going to need some kind of workaround solution, right? So maybe you need to increase your skills on 1 crutch. Maybe it's 1 crutch plus, placing the plate on a table and leaning on the, not a table, the counter, and leaning on your counter to get to your table. Your dining table, your dinette table, like I have in the back. I think you can see the dinette table back there. Small things like that, but this is part of the process. So far, what I've learned is be careful of stairs. I've knocked on wood, I have not had any stair accidents, but I can see if you're too clumsy, if you lose your balance for whatever reason, that could be very dangerous. So I think generally speaking, I need to just slow down the pace. It may seem not very profound, but I think important to slow down the pace that you are accustomed to operating at, right? So, tomorrow, if I was going to the hospital for any other type of checkup or scan or test, my appointment's at 2:30. I live about 5 minutes away from the hospital by car, probably less. I would have probably said, 2:30, parking, let's leave at 2:20. Be there in time, no worries. But no, like, I'm on crutches. I have to take my time putting a shoe on. Don't have shoes anymore. I have shoe, singular, not shoes, because obviously you can't put one on the cast. I would, I'm going to take some time there. I have to get myself, crutch away myself into a walk in with crutches, I guess. I'm not too sure what the verb is if you're on crutches. Is the verb to say you're walking with crutches, or is it just walking with crutches into the hospital and then into the imaging center, diagnostic imaging? That'll all take, potentially multiple more time than it would if I was just normally mobile walking, right? It could take, you know, probably 3, 4 times more since with crutches. So slow down, don't be in a rush. That's the lesson I've learned so far. Thankfully, not a hard lesson because I haven't really done anything bad. But yeah, and I think the other one, just to document for myself and anyone else, if I decide to publish this one day, is sleep. Sleep with cast is tremendously uncomfortable. Knock on wood, I have not had to take any painkillers, but last night was one heck of a rough night. My foot was really hurting. I'm not too sure if your limbs swell in the evening. I should check that out as well to see if limbs are more prone to swelling in the evening. But it took me a long time to find a proper position to actually sleep um, without being woken up by the constant pressure or pain. Now, yeah, you could say that the cast was on too tight or what have you, but you know what? Eventually, I found a spot, and the internet said, and health professionals said, hey, 10 inches above your heart. So I did that for like hours and hours and hours. All I did was like, man, this is tremendously uncomfortable. And then finally, I fell asleep, and when I woke up, I was actually flat on my back, no pillow, and my leg was flat on the bed. So I'm going to try that today. I'm going to go to sleep fairly soon. It's about 9 minutes past midnight right now. I'm going to go upstairs, brush my teeth, do my thing, and I'm going to hop into bed, and I'm going to lie flat on the bed and see what happens. And if hopefully I can fall asleep relatively comfortably there and not notice. I think a lot of this is not noticing it. It's like, yeah, it's there, but it's mind over matter, right? Yes, you have one foot that can help you become mobile, but it's mind over matter. So is it terrible? Yeah, absolutely it's terrible. But you can acknowledge it's terrible and not care about it, right? Acknowledge it's terrible and say this is part of your life and just move on with it, right? That's it may be harder to do than you think. And yeah, it is. It does. It does. Obviously, it sucks. Who wants to do that, right? But this is part of life. You just have to get through it as best you can, and you do that by um, keeping your mind in control of your thoughts and not letting it get you down. I was actually pretty disgusted about this for about a minute or so, saying, "Oh my God, this is going to be terrible." But like, hey, whatever. We're all still here. We're also relatively healthy. This too shall pass, and that's the end of it. So I'm right now in the back of my head, I'm actually saying, hey, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to make the most of this time because the recovery time, which is pretty well stated, is like 4 to 6 months for full recovery. So what I'm going to do this 4 to 6 months. So I mean, I was thinking, okay, well, first of all, I want to strengthen um, my other Achilles tendon, which is not ruptured. I think that's a good idea. I think I'm going to work on flexibility, at least with one side of myself and my upper body flexibility. I think I might continue doing some resistance training, but with bands only, just to be safe. I don't want to. I'm not going into my gym with, one foot like this, even though there's a gym in my home, right? I think I'm going to read more because I'm going to have time. I'm not going to jiu-jitsu for an hour and a half, 4 or 5 days a week, right? That saves me a lot of time. So I think I'm going to read more. Right. I think I'm going to spend more time on my businesses. So you have to fulfill your time. This weekend, it's been more about that type of reflection. Um, I did some work, which I usually try not to do on the weekend, but you have to fulfill your time and make the most of it, and minimize Netflix. Uh, I've done a moderate job of that last couple of days, but again, this is just kind of getting into that routine, and I think when I'm in that routine, um, net, things like Netflix or YouTube. I watched a lot of YouTube this weekend, actually, a lot, but a lot of it was about Achilles rupture, recovery, repair, strengthening, etc., etc., etc. Those types of searches. So I wouldn't say that's like mind-numbing YouTube. I'd say that's more educational YouTube, right? So, anyways, that is a recap of, I guess, the 13th which is a Thursday the 14th, which is a Friday the 15th, which is a Saturday the 16th of October 2022. Tomorrow, I think I may post something else, may record something else, and see what happens after my 2:30 appointment. So, with that, either if I'm the only person that ever sees this, cool, I documented it. If I decide to publish this, lots of people publish this stuff on the internet. Now, let's give you some background also. I'm a 46-year-old male, pretty active. This can happen to anyone. If it could happen to me, it could happen to anyone. And squash is a game I've played since I was like 12. Now I haven't played it in a while, and this, the guy I played it wasn't a strenuous match, right? Not to say I'm so great at squash, but I have reasonable proficiency in the sport. But hey, listen, if you're not fit for the sport, you're not fit for the sport. And on that day, I was fit enough to win the match. I wasn't fit enough for the last game because I fell down with an Achilles rupture. So that's the way it goes. So, anyways, note to self: if you are active, if you're moderately active, if you're running after your kids, if you're doing whatever, hey, strength, resistance training, maybe a little bit more focus on those high risk areas. I never knew this would be a high risk area. I used to, I sometimes do skipping, squats, lunges, air jumps, right? Squat and air jumps. Like, it's part of my strength training routine, and this happens. So who knows? Who knows? And that might very well, talking this through, that might very well be one of the questions I ask the doctor tomorrow. Hey, how did this happen? If this is the case, and maybe he's going to say, hey, listen, these things happen, and sometimes that's the answer. Perhaps not the profound answer we want to hear, but perhaps that is the answer. But anyways, there you go. So to whoever sees this, all the best. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Condition your body as best you can for the lifestyle you want to have, right? And conditioning the body is different for what you're going to put your body through, right? So if you're going to put your body through hell, then you have to condition your body to be able to withstand that, right? It's not only going to be a mental thing. It's obviously a mental thing there, but you have to be able to condition your body to go through that hell. And if you don't put your body through hell, then maybe you don't need to condition your body for quote unquote hell. But anyways, I could blab on here forever and ever and ever, but you know what? I may have 4 to 6 months of blabbing on about my journey through this, and let's see where it leads. Anyways, Matthew is out for the night. Good night, all.